Welcome to I Heart Geek.
And welcome to a special episode of I Heart Geek. I am so excited, not only for what we're talking about today, but for who's on the panel. Oh my God, we have an all-veteran episode, so we decided today we got to pull out the big guns. We are talking about Top Gun, Maverick. And I'm Dub, and I'm here with AME1, Skeeter Thompson. I'm here with Lance Corporal, Carl. Yes, the Black Geek is back. And what is that? A1C Kaj. Where have you guys been? Oh my gosh, I feel like we just stepped back a year. I haven't seen you guys in like a year. How's everybody doing?
Doing good out here.
Did you move?
Yeah, I did. I did. We're living life. I haven't been able to be around a bunch of you guys, but I heard Kaj was going to be here, and I never leave my wingman. Just know that.
Even when you're playing shirtless volleyball, that's the question.
That's right.
What about you, Kaj? How you been, bud?
I'm doing good. Just kind of pounding the pavement and just trying to pay bills. Got a puppy. Now it's a dog. Still is a puppy. Just that has been my life.
That happens pretty quick. Okay, so I wanted to bring everybody on today that did some service, because we're going to talk about Top Gun. Now, first things first, the first movie I hated, because when I was in the Navy, all I could do is see every stinking little thing wrong with Top Gun. What was your guys' experience with the original movie before we go into the glorious ambrosia, which we call Top Gun Maverick? Skeeter, what was your experience with the first movie? What's your thoughts on it?
Well, I got to see Top Gun, the first one, with a group of naval aviators.
Oh boy, they hated it.
Yeah, so destroyed, literally destroyed. The best thing about the movie for me was the soundtrack at that point.
And I want to talk about that.
But that's it for me. But always one of my favorites, because of the F-14. Being always my favorite aircraft ever in the history of ever, but never got to work on it.
I did. Carl, what was your experience with the original Top Gun?
I guess mine would be a little bit different. I was all of a whopping maybe 10 or 11 when I saw it, and
babies.
Oh my Lord. But I'll tell you what, it probably influenced the course of my life. I remember seeing that movie, being that kid that wanted the jacket and was on his bike thinking he was racing jets, and I ended up falling in love with the 14, and for whatever reason, the jump jet, the A-10 jump jet. I had posters of them just littered all over my wall, and I remember having being in a military family and knowing that the Marines is kind of where I wanted to go in my life, and then found out that you could be a pilot in the Marines. You would just be stationed on a naval carrier, and I just. Dude, it just between that and G.I. Joe, I just knew that was going to be where I ended up. So my original experience with their first Top Gun was just amazing.
Yeah. Kosh, what about you, bud?
I'm right there with Carl. Like, I loved this movie growing up. Like, I probably once a week, if not twice a week, I was watching that movie. Just, I love the soundtrack, like Skeeter said, and just the aerial footage, the shots and everything that they have, the footage that they got in there, and just how intense it was, and didn't like Iceman, and then you liked Iceman in the end, kind of, and just back and forth. Volleyball. I'm like, all right, sure, but all right. But for the rest of it, I actually just saw it a couple of days before we went and saw Maverick, and at least the aerial footage still holds up.
It does. Like, it really does.
like it looks like they had a GoPro on the back of the back of the wing of the F-14, and just watching them do those aerial maneuvers was ridiculous.
Yeah. Now, I originally watched it before I went in the Navy, and honestly, that was probably a big reason why I went in. In fact, from what I've heard, I don't know if it's true or not, but recruitment in the military went up like 60% for the following 10 years after that movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's the greatest recruiting tool ever, and I think honestly, it's going to happen again with this, because it's very pro military. It's the good sides of the military. It's the camaraderie. It's the good part.
It was the movie that made 17-year-old high school dropouts that went to auto shop believe that they could go be pilots. I remember, dude, it was like watching In the Army Now. You and I went to see it in the theater, and immediately we're like, if Pauly Shore could do it,
I can do it. So what were you guys expecting when you went in to watch this sequel? I'll start with me, because I was concerned. Because, as I say, there's a lot of things I didn't like about the original, but the feeling of it still remains. And I was very afraid we were not going to get that feeling anymore. And there was going to be, oh, well, Tom Cruise is going to die at the end, or he's going to suddenly walk off his walker and jump in a plane. It's going to be stupid. That was my expectation going in, so I was pleasantly surprised. What was your thoughts going in, or what did you expect going in there, Carl?
I actually have very low expectations going in. I'll be really honest. I felt that the movie was a decade or two too late in where it was coming out, and hearing a lot of the behind the scenes casting, which I think maybe we'll end up going into.
Oh yeah,
jaded me just a little bit, and I'll go into a little bit more when we go into talking about it. But I had low expectations, not rock bottom like it was going to be the worst thing ever, but I went in thinking it was going to be a cash cow, like just we're going to try to cash in on the name of Top Gun.
Mm-hmm. Kaj, what'd you expect going in?
I was very trepidatious as well about just like, it's been so long, and Tom Cruise was kind of involved in it. So I'm like, this can either go really bad or it could be like amazingly good. And in hindsight, it's great that if it wasn't for Tom Cruise being so dedicated to the script, to making sure that this wasn't going to be like a total disaster. I heard that they actually go through all the actors went through training in order to actually pull off all the stunts that they were going to be doing in the show. If it wasn't for his dedication and his like, this needs to be absolutely right or it's not going to work, this movie would have never been made ever.
Yeah. No, the thing that brought up my expectations, Kaj says, "Have you watched it yet? Have you watched it yet?" And I'm like, okay, yeah. I have to see it. And you don't usually tell me to go see a movie unless it's amazing. So
I'm like, enjoy the.
That's perfect timing for that to happen. Skeeter, what about you? What was your expectation going in?
Literally, I took tissue. That was my expectation.
Okay, that's what you're gonna
to get emotional, and I felt like ultimately my reality was these were Hornets, and those were my babies. I worked on Hornets my entire career, from the oldest Hornets in the Navy to the newest Hornets in the Navy. I had my hands in all of them, and the places that they filmed, I was stationed. China Lake, Lemoore, just a lot of my old stomping ground. But as well, it was this thing like I had heard so many interviews and seen so many things. And when Tom Cruise literally said, I made the people that were acting in the seat learn how to film, learn what a camera shot looked like, and made them set their own cameras and film themselves in those back seats to do it properly.
Really?
I thought it was spot on. I have many friends that were that are aviators that did some of the flying. So I heard some things, and I actually,
yeah,
you know, and so I was like, wow, I really couldn't wait. And seeing it like 2 weeks after it was released really did me some good.
Yeah,
because I heard the different sides.
Yeah. Now, honestly, and this, I don't know if this is going to sound weird to anybody else, but this was almost a me saying goodbye to the Navy film. And I know that sounds really bizarre because I mean, I've been out for 30 years, but it was almost a goodbye. And it felt like a warm hug from the Navy. Like, okay, we're done. I know that sounds really weird, but that's really how I felt going out of it, which is strange. I know. So I want to ask you guys this. In these movies, there's things that are going to fall short. What bothered you in this movie? I have 3 things that really bothered me, but we'll get to me in a minute. Let's start with Kaj on this one.
You really want to start with me first? The one thing that bothered me about this movie was that Ice never admitted he killed Goose. And I stand by that.
Okay.
He never even said. I would have. Me and Skeeter talked about this a little bit, but I'm like, he could have said, yeah, I always thought it was me, and I would have been like, all right, you're cool, we're good now. But he never said for blame or anything. It was just, okay, yeah, Mitchell, yeah, we're good to go now. No, we're not.
That's fair. I don't agree with it because I think that was a huge inconsistency in the first movie. It's not possible for what happened to happen, but so I can't get into this argument because I mean, in the fake world, I guess, but yeah, but because there's a big box on top and it's gonna crash through the canopy. Anyway, Skeeter, what bothered you? It hurt. Oh well, maybe we'll get back to Skeeter in a second. Carl, what about you?
Okay, so I had a couple of things. One of which, and a lot of mine goes along with the fact of things I heard going into the movie. So one of the things that the director had stated was his rationale for not bringing back some of the old talent as like Kelly McGillis and Meg Ryan.
But yeah.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, yeah, I'm sure there was
He's
a
not
better
camera ready anymore. I mean, to be fair,
I 100% agree with you, but like one of his rationales that he gave, his big rationale, was the fact that he didn't want this movie looking backwards. He wanted this movie to be all about looking forward. And in my opinion, this whole movie was hinged on looking backwards, looking at Maverick's career, looking at the impact of Goose's untimely demise with Goose, his son, Rooster, the whole kit and caboodle. So hearing that and then seeing the movie made me just kind of go, okay, that's a little off because one of my things about the movie is, and I know we all really like the movie, really kind of love this movie, but this movie is a sequel. There's no ands, ifs, or buts about it. It's not a standalone. This movie cannot stand alone. And this movie does a good job of filling in what happened from the first movie, but it hinges, which is, I guess, my other big problem. It hinges ridiculously a lot on the fact that you had to have seen the original Top Gun movie.
But do you think anyone on Earth went to see that did not see the first one?
Yeah, and I do, and I believe that under the fact of we wouldn't saw it because we're of the generation. We are military men. I believe that our group of generation, especially males, like I said before, between Top Gun and G.I. Joe, we will flock in some way, shape, or form to most military type movies.
Yeah.
It's just bred it in us. However, a lot of millennials may not. And a lot of millennials, and I just base this off my own kids. One of my two boys have seen the original Top Gun. They were like, "You made me watch it." I was like, "I'm sure I probably did at some point or another." So I think every man in the world should have watched the original Top Gun movie. But I can see a lot of younger people hearing, "Oh, this is really a great movie. Oh, this is doing great in the box office. Let's go to the theater and see it," and not seeing the first one. And I think I believe that movies should be made where they can stand on their own. And I understand where sequels have to go in, but this is a sequel. Everything from like his love interest. As soon as I heard her name, I was giddy and laughing and had to turn to my wife and be like, "You know who Penny is, right?"
But it's like
there's no proof. There's no proof that is her until you get to the credits, and the credits it says her full name.
Yeah.
Yep.
But so that would be like not bringing back the old cast doesn't bother me in the fact of I'm a military man and I didn't serve in as long as I probably should have. How many people do I talk to that I served with? Zero.
But here's the truth, especially with this movie, just like when you kind of slip back in, if you talk to any of your old buddies in the military, you didn't miss a day. You don't miss a day.
And you're absolutely right about it. But my point is the fact that as many years has moved on for me and my life has moved on for Maverick. I can see where Maverick may have kept a connection with Iceman.
Yeah.
But I can see where Maverick doesn't talk to Merlin. Maverick doesn't talk to Cougar. Maverick, you know what I'm saying? There's no rationale to have them in the movie. They could be retired, off doing whatever. But
it was nice seeing Merlin in that part, you know.
But having Meg Ryan's Carol killed off, she's not available on screen. Like having her as a present would have been fine. Having Charlie, Kelly McGillis' character, not be there as like you said, she is not camera ready. But as a person, as a character, relationships may or may not last that long.
That's true.
So it's just there was a need for, there could have been a use for some, and I have no problems with others not being in that movie, period.
Yeah. It was a Navy relationship, and let's be honest, there's a reason it's the highest divorce in the world. Yeah, it just happens, you know. It's going on. Okay, Skeeter, what about you? What fell short on your expectations on this?
Well, so the fact that Top Gun was in North Island bothered me. That was a huge thing. It wasn't the Fighter Town USA. That hangar is still at Miramar.
Yeah.
But you're flying Navy Hornets. Almost every patch in that ready room was a Lemoore squadron. The patch that Tom Cruise wore the whole time was my last squadron as a civilian contractor. So like seeing those things and then seeing like Top Gun at the
wrong
North Island
place.
Yeah. I was at Top Gun for 4 months as a maintenance guy with my squadron in Fallon. That's where Top Gun resides today. You know, so we would have loved to see some, you know, give some nods back to the old Fallon, the good old days, but that was that. The other thing that bothered me a lot was they could have come up with some new terms. We got inundated with hard deck. We got inundated with call sign banter.
I think the audience needed that because that's where most people's knowledge stopped, was the first movie.
Right. So and then you get to the bar scene with the call sign communicate, like, oh my goodness, seriously?
They don't
like
do that.
What is happening right now? But overall, I think they did well. I will tell you, the thing that really kind of like settled me in was the opening at the very beginning of the movie, before it even started. was Tom Cruise's opening piece.
Oh, was that at everything? Okay, so that is at every movie theater.
Yeah, I got that.
That I thought that was very well done.
Yeah,
it was.
You know, it was necessary. And then, oh God, when it started, you know, the
beat for beat for like the first one.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
But I know Dub's going that way soon. But yeah, a lot of things I wasn't bothered by. You know, the last thing that really bugged me was and Dub and I talked about this a little bit, was the antique nature of the F-14.
My heart.
Coming out.
Okay,
I worked on those. That was
Okay, so I have a question for you, Skeeter.
I will tell you, dude. They started up that power unit, and the Huffer, when they started that Huffer up, and he said when that gets to 120, push the button and get it going. It was so spot on. I was like, wow, this is great.
It would have sounded like a Harley
spot
though.
on that I'll talk about later.
Okay, so here's my question for you, Skeeter. One of my things later in life with the movie is in the F-14, and keep me honest here, because I did legals, so I didn't work on any aircraft, but I've been in one a couple of times. Not for like just being able to sit in a pit, but they do not label on the trigger missile and gun pod.
No.
And I know that they did it in the first one, and I remember seeing it in the first one, being like, "Oh my Jesus!"
Switching the guns.
But did you notice that they kept the same tags inside the 14 in this one?
It was great.
Probably
it's
the same
old,
14.
It's the old control stick. It's the old selector switch. It's not. I'm sure in an early model. You know that was a. You know, I mean, they still had the pickle button for dropping bombs, doing that, but I'm certain that at some point, I mean, you can look them up. There may be a version of that in like an alpha model F-14.
Okay, so in the 90s when I came along and sat into one, there shouldn't have been. Okay, so it's possible it was there at some point, and I just
it's possible.
Okay.
Okay, no. Well, let me do my issues real quick. They go really quick. When he flies in on his motorcycle and he goes right through the guard gate, that doesn't happen ever.
Oh yeah, well, absolutely not.
It doesn't matter if they know you or not. You are stopping. That was a little pet peeve. They blurred out all the numbers on my ship. That was my ship. That was the Nimitz, and they blurred out the numbers so you didn't see 68 on it. So that bummed me out. And this one's a small one, but it irritates me. You know the guy Bob? He was wearing glasses. There's no such thing as anybody in the air that is wearing glasses. You have to be perfect. And he was wearing them in the cockpit.
I never even noticed that. Yeah, he was.
But did you know who that guy was? I'm not positive he has the same name. Cougar or not Cougar. I forgot who it was in the original movie. It's Bill Pullman.
Is that Merlin?
Merlin. Yeah, it was Merlin.
Yeah.
His
that was
this guy's last name was Pullman. I think that was his son.
Oh wow!
I
They
thought
made
that's
no.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they made
I didn't
no
catch
effort
that.
to make a connection there for us.
We had
at the audience to go.
Tim Robbins was in the first one. It was Cougar and Merlin. And I think one of them. I know one of them was Tim Robbins. Whoever.
It was yeah. No, I'm not thinking Robbins, but yeah.
Yeah, Tim Robbins was Merlin.
Yeah, I don't remember because I haven't watched that movie in forever and a day. So I'm
Really? You didn't watch it?
It's fun.
I did.
Yeah,
I watched part of it
right before it.
and as soon as he started shooting all those missiles off of the same shot, off the same pylon, bothered me a lot. It brought back all those old memories. I know it's silly, but it's
okay. So I have a question for you. You and Skeeter both, because the first one seems to bug you guys in that. When you guys watch these movies, because it's the first thing that comes to me when I go into these movies, is I do not expect full realism just because I feel like and maybe I'm wrong in this. If they gave it to us the way it really is in real life, how entertaining would it be to most audience goers?
I can agree but at the same time, I don't, because this movie was so close in so many ways. It's like a love letter to the Navy. It really was. And that was like me as Skeeter. That was our life, our complete life for at least 4 years of our life. I mean, there was nothing else. That was our marriage. That's everything.
Right. But if they were too spot on, wouldn't it veered too far from the original?
The only thing that would have veered off, let me hit this real quick, is the pilots, because there's no such thing as that pretty of a pilot.
I don't know. Phoenix was hot. I was like,
oh no, yeah, all those very beautiful people. No, that's not what pilots ever look like. They're usually bald and
they're tri-lambs for sure.
They got a lot of hazing when they did their in their fraternities. Go ahead, Gosh.
Carl, let me throw an example for you. So with Top Gun, with them, think of like any movie you've watched for Las Vegas, and then when they do camera shots, it's completely different interstates, and you're like, why? Because that's what bugs
Where
me.
did you get that street from?
Yeah.
Oh man, no, I like Showgirls. Showgirls is my. I hate that movie. I hate that movie just because when they're in their conversation, like they're on 95, they're on the 15. How are they doing this?
You know, there's a lot more reasons to hate that movie than that, but I'll give that to you.
We'll take it.
Oh, that's just one.
I did forget one thing that I really, 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 really hated. This is California, ladies and gentlemen. Not one time did he wear a helmet on a motorcycle.
Oh, geez, yeah. I said that one doesn't bother me just because they did it in the first movie, and that's the only reason why I didn't care.
What? And if you
Tom
ever go
Cruise's
to
hair is his helmet.
It is.
If you go to Oceanside, you can see the old Kelly McGillis house is at the top of the hill from the little parking lot at Oceanside Pier. You can literally see that old house. We drove by it all the time. It's kind of cool. But no, to answer your question, Carl, the biggest part for me is there's a lot of things that they did right, but there are a lot of things that they have to kind of muddle to make it a movie.
Yeah.
You know, I did close to 15 years, you know, in all the places. But yeah, there's a lot of things that you watch the movie, and I had to watch it unfiltered. So like I went in with no knowing what I know about jets and about the F-18 and about pretty much everything in the F-18 there is to know. Yeah, I was like, okay.
But I gotta say, in this movie, it didn't hit as hard with the mistakes. Everything felt close enough.
Yeah. Well, and the only reason I asked my question like that is like we're all looking at everyone's home here for comic book fans, right?
Oh yeah.
And I have read 10 times over the Infinity Gauntlet comic storyline, Infinity War, Infinity Crusade. I had to shift aside what I knew about what happened in the comic books and the reality of the comic books when Marvel released their movies, because they'll follow the beats for things and they'll try to stay close to it, but they got to make their own flair for entertainment reasons. Yeah. And that's what I was just wondering going into
on those movies.
Okay, so frustrates you on those two.
Let me give you a little 10. Let me give you a little 10-second for instance. So when Phoenix gets blasted, okay, and she's got to eject. Okay, when they had the bird strike. Now I've never seen a bird go through a jet engine and cause a fire and a flame out.
I have seen them blow it up though.
But I've seen plenty of bird strikes off of canopies that do some damage. Yeah, can it happen? But they test those motors for that. The GEF414 is pretty amazing. Okay. When she got the engine fires and the firelight came on, that was my area. Like that's what I worked on. Other than ejection seats and canopies and everything like that, I worked on the fire systems. So when that light came on and she flipped the cage and pushed the button to put the fire out, legit.
It was spot on. Yep.
The next one popped up and she got the second one before she got the first engine lit back up. Had no motor. When she became a brick, yeah, like that's legit. Like I was like, and then the ejection sequence was fully, you can have both. You can have aft initiate, or you can have individual, and it must have been set to individual because the backseater pulled, and then she pulled, and it was awesome to see.
Yeah, and going back to the goose thing, the canopy shoots out like a mile away before you'll even see
it. The canopy gets shot backwards and disengages.
Yeah, there's one in a million.
It's 1 in a million, but the canopy goes, when it gets blown off, it goes back and off.
And shifts, right.
Mm-hmm.
It's a
so
quarter
it never goes up?
It does not go up this way. It goes aft and away because there's rocket motors.
It's on it's on a slider.
Which again, this is something that's why that little stuff bothers me, because like, you know, there's a lot of thought and work that goes into every aspect of this, you know. I mean, y'all were in the military, plus, you know, that's a 24-hour, 7-day a week. Everybody puts in 100%.
And plus, a 4,800 pounds of thrust and an underseat rocket motor from an ejection seat is going to blow them through the canopy, not into it to where it folds them up. So,
and now I think
it would have been a much bigger mess.
Let's move on a little bit. Okay, we hit on the music a little bit. I had one complaint with the music. I love that they brought back the actual instrumentation. You know, do 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 do. It's, I mean, just fantastic. But they didn't give us Danger Zone. I know K-Log wanted to do an updated version, and they said no, and that bugs me because Danger Zone.
They did it at the beginning.
They didn't.
They did it at the beginning with.
Nope.
I thought they did when the rockets.
Yeah,
it just had the first guitar. It did not have Danger Zone.
It just doesn't have the vocals. Is that what it is?
No, that's not Danger Zone. It's just the regular instrumental. Listen to it again.
If you listen to it again, it's just the
actual
intro
orchestration,
and then where they launched off the catapult, it's all it starts. It doesn't.
So I know that's a little minor thing, but that song was the jam. So they kept everything else. They should have kept that one, but I thought that it was fantastic. I know that Lady Gaga was one of the composers on this. It was in her wheelhouse. I mean, she kind of the DJ feel. She takes what's already been done and kind of just plays with it a little bit. And I have nothing bad to say about it. I really enjoyed the music, and especially in the theater. I wish it would have been louder.
Yeah, the nod to Goose and, you know, Great Balls of Fire.
Oh yes,
I love that. Very, very well done. I really like that.
Okay, and I'm not gonna lie.
Glad they didn't have Take My Breath Away.
No,
or anything that resides in that song.
No, then you have to bring back Killing the
It's like open your mouth wider. Okay.
They didn't have our Playing with the Boys scene. I do want to hit that for a second. As much as the volleyball scene gets more crap from the original movie, I am glad they did a version of that in this new movie. And it didn't feel forced, and it didn't feel quite as cheeseball as it did the first movie, if that makes sense. I don't know, was that like a hindrance, or that would have bothered me if it wouldn't have been in there?
I loved I still love when Mav walked away and they talked crap to him as he walked away, just like they did in the original.
Which is perfect. Yep.
Mm-hmm. I liked it. Well, I didn't even, from the original one, I didn't realize that them playing volleyball per se was like a team building experience.
Yeah.
But they explained that in Maverick, and I'm like, okay, well, that's why it kind of now I get it. I understand it better, and it was just, you know, nice watching them play, I guess.
Oh, Kaj, you nailed it. I was just going to say the same thing. Is we give crap to the first movie for that scene, and then this movie gave us an answer to why that scene was necessary.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So now I feel like we talked. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to take.
The other thing that I liked, since we're kind of like comparing shot for shot from old to new film, I like the fact how Maverick, like he had to buy everybody around. He was basically Charlie in this movie at the beginning because they were giving him crap. And he's like, all right, here's your new Top Gun instructor. He's going to get you through this. And he just walks in, you just see, what's his face? Hangman.
Hangman. Because he threw him out.
I'm like, yeah, that's great. I love that. That was a nice little nod.
Yeah, and I felt like they were trying to make Hangman into Iceman, and it didn't work.
Definitely.
Because Iceman was so cool because he would never leave his wingman. I mean, this was his very character. And this guy, he was so unlikable, even at the end when they're, hey, I'll save your butt or whatever. He's not likable. He doesn't have the same thing as Iceman because his character was wrong.
I don't know. I have to admit, at the end, it was predictable. I just felt like it took it forever. I was waiting forever at the end for Hangman to show up and save the day. Like, I was like,
oh,
where's Hangman? Where's Hangman? Where's Hangman? I knew he was going to be the one that comes in and does something at the end because it redeemed his little arc of the movie.
Because he's always hanging, you know? Yeah.
So I liked him.
No, I didn't dislike him, but I think that they tried too hard to make him into the Iceman character with changing too much of the character. If that makes sense, I know that's kind of weird.
Yeah. You have to have someone against someone.
Yeah.
Can I ask this one though for everybody on the panel? Because I read the synopsis later and I was like, I thought so, but wasn't sure about it. Did you guys get Phoenix as a love interest for Rooster out of this movie?
No.
If you go and read her synopsis that's in the treatment for the movie, she is considered his love interest. I didn't think so either.
They took
I was
that
like,
out.
I was like, seems to me like they were just good friends that just knew each other.
There were some looks. There were some shared stares.
But
in the military, that's always flirting.
Like,
it's everybody.
There always is. Yes.
Yeah.
There always is that kind of.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was just wondering if anyone else thought that.
It could have been. No, I'm glad they didn't go that direction because I think that would have been too confusing. Yeah. I'm not a fan of that. I didn't even hear that, and now that I'm like thinking back, I'm like, no, it wasn't there at all. Now they did have our Chekhovs gun moment that they didn't deliver on. Everyone's familiar with Chekhov's gun. If you introduce the gun in the second, in the second act, it's got to be used in the third, right? So when Maverick's explaining the whole thing, he goes, well, one person can't make it out alive. The team's not. So I don't know if you guys remember that. It was very specific. You know, someone's going to die on this, and then they didn't give us that at the end. And I felt like as much as I'm glad they gave us a happy ending. At the other hand, I kind of want him to go out.
But wasn't that the whole point of Maverick's thing? Was I can get everybody out of this alive?
Yeah, he could get everybody else out except for him.
One person didn't make it out. One person didn't. If you think about it, it was the person that got Maverick into it.
Oh, okay. Iceman. Okay.
I mean, if we want to go that direction, I mean, that's really that's stretching.
I was like, that is out
there. but I think it kind of put into everybody's mind like it's gonna be Maverick. Like Maverick's gonna put himself out there, which is what he did. You know, and he got shot down, and then boom, we see him in the snow, and then which was that's when the movie for me started to kind of really run wild with itself. When that big old helicopter come rolling, I was like, "What is that?"
And then that Airwolf.
Yeah, they could have ended it before that and just let them all land on the carrier and everybody high five each other, and that could have been it. But they gave us that little extra nugget of like, oh no,
Red Dawn.
We're doing something different now.
The Red Dawn moment. Did Tom Cruise actually pull that one out of Red Dawn?
Black Hawk Down.
That too?
Could be. Now
I could have sworn I heard him say Wolverines, but I don't know.
Now Val Kilmer. Is it just me, or does he look like a out of the closet 90-year-old retired theater teacher right at this point?
Dude's dying of throat cancer. Like,
and I don't want to make fun, but that really seems like okay. I'm like, I have that teacher, you know.
So I don't know if you guys heard, like one of the other things that I, again, not sure where it was once you watched the movie. This is kind of how I felt with it. Was I think it's his daughter stated that Val Kilmer had to beg to be in the movie.
That's garbage.
He wasn't part of the original treatment to be in the movie. With that, and then if you watch the movie, his scene seems forced,
very forced,
and that was too bad. Like I think I could have gone the entire movie with all the communication being that way, and then maybe instead of killing him off at the end when Maverick makes it back to the cruiser, instead of having John Hamm's character sitting there giving him the good eye, if it would have been like Iceman was there on the carrier and was like, "Good job."
That would be a much more satisfying ending, I think.
Yeah.
His son was his voice, right?
His son
voice when he talked
does his voice for that one part there, and it's I thought it was a really funny part. It just seemed, like I said, the cinematography of it seemed forced to me, because up until the part where he gets up and hugs him, it almost seems like maybe there's an extra in the room and they're not filming it together. At least that's how it looked to me when I was watching it.
Yeah, do they get along? I mean,
it's just, yeah. I mean, and then when they get up and everything happens, you're like, okay, some of the scene was clearly shot off, and then some of the scene, which could have been just due to Val's health. So I'm glad they found a way to squeeze him in there, but it did feel to me like he was squeezed in.
No, I until right this moment, I didn't know that was a real thing. Wow.
I'm excited to see what more they do with Val Kilmer now, because I know his son did the voice for this one, and then they have put together some electronics and they have pulled his voice from other roles and movies he's done to create his voice. So they said he's going to be part of the Willow show that's going to be on Disney Plus.
How that's going to go.
They said it's going to be a big part, and that there will be voice with it. So I'm really interested to see how it works out for him. I'm glad to see that the throat cancer is not stopping him. I know it slowed him down, but I'm glad to see it didn't stop him. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so let's move on to a higher note. We've rambled for a while, so let's give our grades for Top Gun Maverick. Skeeter, let's start with you. What grade do you give Top Gun Maverick?
I really enjoyed the education portion when they were doing their training, flying against each other, see who was going to be, the team and who was going to do that. Flying between the jets, head to head, flying between the jets. Like, I thought that was super cool, understanding it's all CG. But I really, really enjoyed this movie. I think Tom Cruise did a great job. I really didn't find anything negative about it. The aviation was spot on, everything they did. And it was, for me, just like it was for Dub, and I didn't think of it like this, but it was that warm hug goodbye for me. I'm an aviation, I'm a flying Navy guy till I die. But this movie was amazing. I loved every minute of it. And I'm definitely at that A.
Outstanding.
It's a solid 4.0 for me.
Kaj, what do you grade this at?
I mean, if the aviation specialist is giving it an A, I'm giving it an A++. Like, it was incredible. Just if anything, with the dialogue and whatnot, you're going to the movie for the jet scenes. So, like, you're going in there for the dog fighting, and with CGI, I saw that whole thing with the cameras that they had in the cockpits and whatnot. It looked incredible. Like, just the Beggar's Canyon run, and then going up to the mountains and then hit the targets, and just it was incredible. Like, I loved every single minute of the movie.
Outstanding. Carl, what do you put this one at?
I'm looking at. I walked in on just an entertainment. Unfortunately or fortunately, I never flew jets or been around them enough to know enough about them. From an entertainment perspective, I give it an A. I think that for a sequel that was done 30 years later, they stuck and hit their landing mark. And it's rare that you get a revisit back to something that makes you want to go back to the original movie.
Yeah.
And where I said earlier, this movie relied the fact that you had to have seen the original. I believe that it's strong enough that it will make anyone who hadn't seen the original go and watch the original.
Yeah.
And that
I
makes
agree.
a good movie.
Very good. Okay, so on a purely emotional level, this movie didn't make you think about anything. It didn't make you introspective. It didn't make you think of the way the world is. It didn't make you think of anything except for being in that moment. We need more movies like this. It was raw emotion, and when you walked out, you felt better than when you walked in. That is a fantastic movie, and I'm going to do something I've never done on this show. This is an A+. I've never, ever, ever, ever given anything on this show that's the emotional. I mean, and I can say a million bad things about Tom Cruise and just things, but on an emotional level, I've never felt so good walking out of a movie. I felt like I walked out of Rocky 3. I mean, being a little kid when I walked out of Rocky 3, that's how I felt walking out of this movie. So, I mean, I can't give any more of a glowing recommendation than that. And on Rotten Tomatoes, it's one of the first times you've ever seen. It's like a 98% positive critics, 98% positive for regular people. I think that's happened like once or twice ever. Mm-hmm. So this movie, I think, is something truly, truly special. Nostalgia aside, I think this movie is something that you need to share with your family and your friends, your kids. Yeah. So that was a show, and check out the website, www.iheartgeekshow.com. You just call me, pay an extra for it. Yeah, that intro has not changed at all. Go to the Facebook, go to the Twitter, go to Smoke Signals, go to Instagram. We're everywhere. And until next time, I'm Dub. I'm here with Kaj. We're here with Skeeter. We're here with Carl. Keep on geeking on, guys. We'll see you again soon. And that was...
You know why this show was so good?
Because you were on it?
Because we were inverted.
Oh!
You have been listening to the latest episode of the iHeart Geek Show. Make sure you visit our website at www.iheartgeekshow.com. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And if you check us out on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And keep on geeking on to all of you geek rock stars.